बात कर दो। हाथ साफ करके बैठो। हाथ साफ करके बैठो। हाथ साफ कर लो। दांत साफ किया? हाथ दांत साफ कर देंगे। कोई बात नहीं।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेष्व भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति सिद्धांता सरस्वती नामिने। श्रीवार्षभानवी देवी दैताय कृपाब्धये कृष्ण संबंध विज्ञान दायिने प्रभवे नमः। माधुर्योज्वल प्रेमाढ्य श्रीरूपानुगा भक्तिदा श्री गौर करुणा शक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते। नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्रीमूर्तये दीनतारिणे रूपानुग विरुद्धाप सिद्धांत ध्वांतहारिणे। नमो गौर किशोराय साक्षाद् वैराग्यमूर्तये विप्रलम्भार सांभोदे पादाम्बुजाय ते नमः। नमो भक्ति विनोदाय सच्चिदानंद नामिने गौरशक्ति स्वरूपाय रूपानुगावराय ते। गौराविर्भाव भूमेस्त्वं निर्देष्टा सज्जन प्रियः वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। पञ्चतत्त्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam for All session. Today we will read about Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Today is the disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So let us read about his life and teachings. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is the spiritual master of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the guru of Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, appeared in Sri Kshetra Dham, Jagannath Puri, on 6th February 1874 as the son of Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So when was Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur born? 1874. When was Srila Prabhupada born? 1896. So 22 years older. In his childhood, he quickly mastered the Vedas, memorized the Bhagavad Gita, and relished his father's philosophical works. He became known as the living encyclopedia for his vast knowledge. He preached convincingly against casteism and philosophical deviations from Gaudiya Vaishnavism. He tried to unite the four Vaishnav Sampradayas by publishing their teachings. Srila Saraswati Thakur earned the title Narasimha Guru for his fearless and powerful delivery of the Vaishnava Siddhanta. Mayavadis would cross the street to avoid confronting the Lion Guru, Simha Guru, right? Besides being a courageous preacher, he was ornamented with all divine qualities and full of ecstatic love of God. He established 64 Gaudiya Mutt temples in India and centers in Burma, England, Germany. Srila Saraswati Thakur excavated Lord Chaitanya's appearance place at the Yogpit in Sridham, Mayapur, despite heavy opposition from the money-hungry caste Goswamis of Navadvip. He built a beautiful Gaudiya Mutt temple there. So, the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Yogpit, the temple was constructed. He excavated Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance place. His three Brihat Mridangas, printing presses in Madras, Calcutta, Krishnanagar, used to pump out books, magazines, and newspapers to spread the message of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. When asked why he printed a daily spiritual newspaper entitled Nadia Prakash, Srila Saraswati Thakur replied, "If an insignificant city can produce 5 daily newspapers, then why can't we publish a newspaper every second about the eternal, ever-fresh, transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his unlimited spiritual planet, Golok Vrindavan?" Apart from his father's writings, he published many authorized Shastras, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Mangal, Prema Bhakti Chandrika, and his favorite book, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. That means he's given commentaries on all these. He predicted that foreigners would learn Bengali to relish the nectar left by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He introduced many innovations to expand preaching. All over India, he staged free theistic exhibits and dioramas depicting the pastimes of Sri Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The dioramas, that is also Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's contribution. One second. Okay. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, he introduced many innovations to expand preaching. All over India, he staged free theistic exhibits and dioramas depicting the pastimes of Sri Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You will see this in Mayapur ISKCON temple also, and in other Gaudiya Mutts also. Employing the latest technology, he even had animated dolls. To commemorate the many holy places visited by Lord Chaitanya, he installed marble impressions of the Lord's lotus feet. Breaking tradition, he let his sannyasis wear tailored kurtas and overcoats, ride in cars and motorboats, and carry Mahaprabhu's message across the sea to Europe. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's revolutionary preaching ideas sprang from the Shastric principle of Yukta Vairagya, set forth by the Rasa Acharya Srila Rupa Goswami. Being an eternally liberated soul, Srila Saraswati Thakur knew how to perfectly engage Maya in the service of Lord Krishna. Following Srila Thakur Bhaktivinod's footsteps, he preached Daiva Varnashram to harmonize society and provide spiritual fulfillment for all. Advocating the teachings of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath Das Goswamis, he taught the science of devotional service and showed thousands how to attain pure love for Sri Sri Gandharvika Giridhari. Aside from his phenomenal preaching success in India, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's greatest contribution was Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whom he initiated and inspired to distribute Krishna consciousness all over the world. When Srila Prabhupada was asked to describe his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, "What can I say? He was a Vaikuntha man." In Radha Govinda's eternal pastimes in Golok Vrindavan, Srila Saraswati Thakur serves as Nayanamani Manjari. His Pushpa Samadhis are at Radha Kund and Radha Damodar. Now we'll read the biographies. So there is 1, 2, then there are lectures. So the lectures you can hear afterwards. Okay, there's 2 biographies. We'll see how much we can read. The most revered Swamiji came to fulfill the mission of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he took up the thread where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left. It is he who has given to the modern world an authentic account and commentary on the life and teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the light of the Upanishads and Vedanta. He established more than 64 mattas throughout India and abroad, where brahmacharis and sannyasis in hundreds are trained in monastic life of purity and asceticism to carry his message from door to door. The Swamiji was preeminently a philosopher. His ideas were rational and always logical. That was why he never failed to attract the intelligentsia. He asked the people not to have a blind faith. Faith, if not solidly based on a philosophical conception, is likely to be shaken. Faith, if not solidly based, just what we were discussing yesterday in Chaitanya Charitamrita class about Shastriya Shraddha. You can have Loka Parampara Jata Shraddha, but that can be shaken. But Shastriya Shraddha will not. So faith, if not solidly based on a philosophical conception, is likely to be shaken. He was uncompromising and orthodox in bringing out the truth in its intrinsic purity. He was a fighter for the establishment of truth and the dignity of Vaishnava character, an upholder and protector of Gaudiya Vaishnava faith. His untiring efforts and many-sided activities for the spread and dissemination of Vaishnavism were unprecedented in the annals of Vaishnavism. He is Democrat of the Democrats. He says God is worshipped not only by Brahmins. Everyone has the right to call upon him and worship him. Everyone can have the right to wear the sacred thread. Get rid of your sins and impurities, and you become a Brahmin and not otherwise by the accident of your birth. So this is a very significant point that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur fought against. Caste is not by birth, caste is by your swabhava, and based on your swabhava means your nature, and based on your nature, then there is activity. Guna karma, chaturvarnyam maya srishtam guna karma swabhavasha. So it's not that by birth one becomes a Brahmin. And Srila Prabhupada actually took that very seriously, and how we see how he trained so many people who are not who didn't have a birth from Brahmana parents, but he trained them. So get rid of your sins and impurities and you become a Brahmin, and not otherwise by the accident of your birth. He started a countrywide movement to carry the message of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His sole aim in life in all this was to see that the divine incarnation, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is recognized and worshipped. His teachings are followed and his songs are sung in every part of India. Now we see his wishes are fulfilled by successive disciples in Western countries also. Okay. It's a short one. Okay. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was one of the 10 children born to Bhakti Vinod Thakur, a great Vaishnava teacher in the disciple line from Lord Chaitanya himself. While living in a house named Narayana Chata, Narayana Chat, just near the temple of Lord Jagannath in Puri, Bhakti Vinod Thakur was engaged as a prominent deputy magistrate and also served as the superintendent of the temple of Lord Jagannath. Yet, in spite of these responsibilities, he served the cause of Krishna with prodigious energy. While working to reform Gaudiya Vaishnavism in India, he prayed to Lord Chaitanya, "Your teachings have been greatly depreciated, and it is not in my power to restore them." Thus, he prayed for a son to help him in his preaching mission. When, on February 6, 1874, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was born to Bhakti Vinod and Bhagavati Devi in Jagannath Puri, the Vaishnavas considered him the answer to his father's prayers. He was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck and draped across his chest, like the sacred thread worn by Brahmanas. 6 months after the child was born, Bhakti Vinod arranged for his son to undergo the Annaprasana ceremony with the prasad of Vimala Devi, and thereafter named the boy Bimala Prasad. Around the same time, the carts of the Jagannath festival stopped at the gate of Bhakti Vinod's residence, and for 3 days could not be moved. Bhakti Vinod Thakur's wife brought the infant onto the cart and approached the deity of Lord Jagannath. Spontaneously, the infant extended his arms and touched the feet of Lord Jagannath, and was immediately blessed with a garland that fell from the body of the Lord. Seeing this, the priests chanted the name of Hari and told the child's mother that the boy would certainly become a great devotee one day. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur learned that the Lord's garland had fallen on his son, he realized that this was the son for whom he had prayed. Bimala Prasad stayed in Puri for 10 months after his birth and then went to Bengal by palanquin on his mother's lap. Wow. He went by palanquin from Jagannath Puri to Bengal in his mother's lap after 10 months. His infancy was spent at Nadia district's Ranaghat, hearing topics of Sri Hari from his mother. Infancy. Bhaktivinoda and his wife were orthodox and virtuous. They never allowed their children to eat anything other than prasad, nor to associate with bad company. One day, when Bimala Prasad was still a child of no more than 4 years, his father mildly rebuked him for eating a mango not yet duly offered to Lord Krishna. Bimala Prasad, although only a child, considered himself an offender to the Lord and vowed never to eat mangoes again. This was a vow that he would follow throughout his life. By the time Bimala Prasad was 7 years old, he had memorized the entire Bhagavad Gita and could even explain its verses. 7 years old. His father then began training him in proofreading and printing when he was 7 years old. His father trained him in proofreading and printing in conjunction with the publishing of the Vaishnava magazine Sajjana Toshini. In 1881, so 1874 he was born, right? So 1881 means how old is he? Wait, 8 years. In 81, in the course of excavating for the construction of the Bhakti Bhavan at Ram Bagan in Calcutta, a deity of Kurmadev was unearthed. Okay, Bhakti Bhavan. After initiating his 7-year-old son, Bhakti Vinod entrusted Bimala with the service of the deity of Kurmadev. So this must be Bimala Prasad at 7 years age. On April 1st, 1884, Bhakti Vinod was appointed the senior deputy magistrate of Serampore. So this is when he was 10 years old. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is 10 years old. At that time, Srila Bhakti Vinod was appointed the senior deputy magistrate of Serampore, where he admitted Bimala in the Serampore High School. He's in high school. When Bimala was a mere student in class 5, he invented a new method of writing named Bikanto. During this period, he took lessons in mathematics and astrology from Pandit Mahesh Chandra Chudamani. However, he preferred to read devotional books rather than the school texts. In 1892, so that must be when he is 18 years old, after passing his entrance examination, Bimala was admitted into the Sanskrit College of Calcutta. There he spent considerable time in the library studying various books on philosophy. He also studied the Vedas under the guidance of Prithvidhara Sharma. He studied the Vedas. As a student, he contributed many thoughtful articles to various religious journals. However, he did not continue with his college studies for long. In 1897, so that's 1897 means 23 years old. Yes. He started an autonomous Chatushpati Sanskrit school, where from monthly journals entitled Jyotirvid, Brihaspati, and many old treatises on astrology were published. In 1898, while teaching at Sarasvati Chatushpati, he studied Siddhanta Kaumudi under Prithvidhar Sharma at Bhakti Bhavan. By the time he was 25, he had become well versed in Sanskrit, mathematics, and astronomy, and he had established himself as the author and publisher of many magazine articles and one ancient book, Surya Siddhanta, for which he received the epithet Siddhanta Saraswati in recognition of his erudition. So this was when he was 25 years old. So here is his mother, Srimati Bhagavati Devi. mother of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. In 1895, Saraswati Goswami accepted service under the Tripura royal government. 1895. Okay, so 21 years old. So this is before. So he was also working then, right? He accepted service under the Tripura royal government as an editor for the biography entitled Raja Ratnakar, the life histories of the royal line of the independent Tripura kingdom. Later, he was entrusted with the responsibility of educating the Yuvaraj Bahadur and Rajkumar Rajendra Kishore in Bengali and Sanskrit. After a short period of time, Siddhanta Saraswati took up the responsibilities for inspecting various ongoing activities in the royal palace for the state of Tripura. However, after finding envy, malice, and corruption surfacing in every corner of his inspection, Siddhanta Saraswati very quickly developed an aversion to state affairs and gave notice of his intention to retire to Maharaj Radha Kishore Manikya Bahadur. The Maharaj approved of Siddhanta Saraswati's plans for renunciation and awarded him full pay pension. However, after 3 years, Siddhanta Saraswati also renounced his pension. With his father, he visited many tirthas and heard discourses from the learned pandits. In October 1898, so that is when he's like 24 years old, Siddhanta Saraswati accompanied Bhaktivinoda on a pilgrimage of Kashi, Prayag, Gaya, and other holy places. At Kashi, a discussion was held with Rama Mishra Shastri regarding the Ramanuja Sampradaya. After this talk, Siddhanta Saraswati's life seemed to take a turn. His inclination towards renunciation increased, and he quietly continued to search for a guru. When Siddhanta Saraswati was 26, his father, under the understanding the mind of his son, guided him to take initiation from a renounced Vaishnava saint, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji was the embodiment of Vairagya and was very selective about giving Diksha. He lived beneath a tree near the bank of the Ganga and wore the abandoned clothes of dead bodies as a waistband, kopin. Generally, he ate plain rice soaked in Ganga water, garnished with chili and salt. Sometimes he utilized discarded earthen pots. After properly washing them, he cooked rice in them, offered it to Krishna, and then he would take prasad. That means normally he would just take raw rice, soak it in Ganga water, and then eat it with chili and salt. That's all, normally. But sometimes he would cook the rice using the discarded clay pots, wash them thoroughly, and cook rice in them. Following the advice of his father, Siddhanta Saraswati went to Gaur Kishore Das and begged to be accepted as his disciple. Gaur Kishore replied that he would not be able to give Diksha unless he received the approval of Lord Chaitanya. However, when Siddhanta Saraswati returned again, Gaur Kishore said that he had forgotten to ask Lord Chaitanya. On the third visit, Gaur Kishore stated that Lord Chaitanya had said that erudition, right, learning, is extremely insignificant in comparison to devotion to the Supreme Lord. That means Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is so highly learned. By this time, he was already given the title Siddhanta Saraswati, and he was the author, and he's well known as a scholar, as a so many credits he had, titles. So he wanted to take Diksha from Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. His father guided him to take Diksha from Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. And so he went and asked him. So when he went and asked, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji said, I'll have to ask Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay. So then he came back after some time did you ask Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? What did he say? Can you give me Diksha? And he said, oh, I forgot to ask him. Then, okay, next time. All right. Srila Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur went away, and then he came back after some time again. He said, did you meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Yes. Did you ask him? Yes. What did he say? He said, I don't need to give you Diksha. Because learning, erudition is not the qualification for bhakti. Okay? So then what did Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur do? So he said on the third visit, Gaur Kishore stated that Lord Chaitanya had said that erudition is extremely insignificant in comparison to devotion to the Supreme Lord. Hearing this, Siddhanta replied, excellent. Hearing this, Siddhanta replied that since Gaur Kishore was the servant of Kapata Chudamani, Kapata means the cheater, right? Cheating. Chudamani means the best crest jewel. So Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj is the servant of Kapata Chudamani, the best of the cheaters. Who is that? Krishna. Hearing this, Siddhanta replied that since Gaur Kishore was the servant of Kapata Chudamani, the supreme deceiver, hence he must be testing Saraswati by withholding his consent. Acha. So he's saying, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying, or at that time he's not yet Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he's Siddhanta Saraswati. He replied that since Gaur Kishore Das Babaji is a servant of Krishna, he must be testing Saraswati by withholding his consent. Okay, so maybe you are also testing me, right? Because you are the servant of the supreme cheater, so you are also testing me by withholding his consent, by not giving me permission, by not giving me Diksha. However, Siddhanta Saraswati remained firmly determined and remarked that Ramanujacharya had been sent back 18 times before he finally received the grace of Goshti Purna. Thus, he too would wait patiently until the day that Gaur Kishore would bestow his benedictions upon him. Seeing the commitment of Saraswati, Gaur Kishore was impressed and gave him Diksha in the blissful grove of Godruma and told him to preach the absolute truth and keep aside all other works. Right? That's the instruction. Preach the absolute truth and leave aside all other works. In March 1900, so 1900 means 26 years old now, Saraswati accompanied Bhaktivinoda on a pilgrimage of Balasore, Remuna, Bhuvaneshwar and Puri. As instructed by Bhaktivinoda, Saraswati gave lectures from Chaitanya Charitamrita with profound purports. Through the initiative of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the flow of pure bhakti again began to inundate the world. So before Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there was a lot of Apa Sampradaya and Apa Siddhanta had spread in the name of Vaishnavism. But by the efforts of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, once again, so pure devotional service was forgotten. After the 6 Goswamis, then we had Narottam Das Thakur, right, Srinivasa Acharya. After that, there was a period for about a couple of 200 years or something. There was no pure devotional service, right? In the name of devotional service, in the name of bhakti, all types of abominable activities were going on. But by the efforts of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, now once again, pure devotional service was flowing in the world. It began to inundate the world. After Lord Chaitanya's disappearance, a period of darkness ensued in which the river of bhakti had been choked and practically dried up. The end of the period was brought about by the undaunted preaching of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He wrote a number of books on Shuddha Bhakti, Siddhanta, and published numerous religious periodicals. He inspired many to take up the service of Lord Gauranga and instituted various Namahata and Prapanna Ashram, that means Gaudiya Mutt centers. In 1905, means about 31 years old now, Siddhanta Saraswati took a vow to chant the Hare Krishna mantra 1,000,000,000 times. 1,000,000,000 times. Residing in 1 billion is 100 crore. Residing in Mayapur, 1,000 million, I'm translating in Indian. Residing in Mayapur in a grass hut near the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, he chanted the mantra day and night. So this will be like Haridas Thakur chanting 192 rounds a day. So he did this every day and night he was chanting. He cooked rice once a day in an earthen pot and ate nothing more, only rice, right? He would mix it with cow urine. And even that, you know how he would eat? So he would cook rice once a day and he would mix cow urine in it and he would put that rice on the ground directly, no plate, nothing. And then he would tie his hands behind his back, take a deep breath, and he would just bend down and eat directly off the ground like a cow. And in whatever he could eat in one breath, like that, that's all. Once after taking, when he sat up, finished, he wouldn't eat again. That was his meal for that day. For how long did he do this? For many, many years. For years together, he practiced this. And he was chanting 300,000 names of Krishna every day. Residing in Mayapur in a grass hut near the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, he chanted the mantra day and night. He cooked rice once a day in an earthen pot and ate nothing more. He slept on the ground. And when the rainwater leaked through the grass ceiling, he sat beneath an umbrella chanting. In 1912, Manindra Nandi, the Maharaj of Kasim Bazar, arranged to hold a large Vaishnav Sammilan at his palace. At the specific request of the Maharaj, Saraswati Goswami attended the Sammilani and delivered 4 very brief speeches on Shuddha Bhakti on 4 consecutive days. However, he did not take any food during the Sammilani because of the presence of various groups of Sahajiyas. After fasting for 4 days, that means for those 4 days, he didn't eat anything. Complete fast, 4 days. Why? Because in that assembly, there were some Sahajiyas. That's why he didn't eat. After fasting for 4 days, Saraswati Goswami came to Mayapur and took the prasad of Lord Chaitanya. See, this is called chastity. I mean, to what extent? Just see. He didn't eat for 4 days. He fasted completely, but he didn't stop his service. He was delivering lectures. And he came back to Mayapur and he took the prasad of Lord Chaitanya. Later, when Maharaj Manindra Nandi realized what had happened, he was deeply aggrieved and came to Mayapur to apologize to Siddhanta Saraswati. During that time, Bengal was full of Sahajiya sects such as Aul, Baul, Kartabhaja, Neda Nedi, Daravesh, Sain, etc., who followed worldly practices in the name, this is called Sain, okay, who followed worldly practices in the name of spiritualism. Sahajiya means what? In the name of bhakti, in the name of being devotees, actually, they're simply engaged in sense gratification. Siddhanta Saraswati launched a severe attack against those irreligious sects and did not spare anyone who deviated from the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Even some well-known persons bearing the surname of Goswamis patronized these Sahajiya sects during that period. Siddhanta Saraswati was deeply grieved to see these groups of Prakrita Sahajiyas in the garb of Paramahamsa Goswami gurus misleading the people. Thus, he completely disassociated himself and resorted to performing bhajan in solitude. During this period of solitude, one day Lord Chaitanya, along with the 6 Goswamis, suddenly manifested before Siddhanta Saraswati's vision and said, "Do not be disheartened. Take up the task of re-establishing Varnashrama with new vigor and preach the message of love for Sri Krishna everywhere." Who came? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came along with the 6 Goswamis. Do not be disheartened. Take up the task of re-establishing Varnashrama. Who's saying? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the 6 Goswamis are saying to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Why? How we can say that this is not possible, this is not practical? Do not be disheartened. Take up the task of re-establishing Varnashrama with new vigor and preach the message of love for Sri Krishna, love for Sri Krishna everywhere. After receiving this message, Saraswati Goswami was filled with inspiration to preach the glories of Lord Chaitanya and enthusiastically. So in 1911, so that is, he's like 37 years old. In 1911, while his aging father was lying ill, Siddhanta Saraswati took up a challenge against pseudo-Vaishnavas who claimed that birth is in their caste was the prerequisite for preaching Krishna consciousness. That means unless you are born in that family, coming in, like the ancestor is a Vaishnava, and unless you come, you take birth in that family, you are not eligible to preach. The caste-conscious Brahmana community had become incensed by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Okay, I'll read that again. While his aging father was lying ill, Siddhanta Saraswati took up a challenge against pseudo-Vaishnavas who claimed that birth in their caste was the prerequisite for preaching Krishna consciousness. That means Srila Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he challenged them. The caste-conscious Brahmana community had become incensed by Bhaktivinoda Thakur's presentation of many scriptural proofs that anyone, regardless of birth, could become a Brahmana Vaishnava. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur actually showed from Shastra how it is not by birth. So by seeing this, the caste Brahmanas became very angry. These Smartha Brahmanas, out to prove the inferiority of the Vaishnavas, arranged a discussion. On behalf of his indisposed father, young Siddhanta Saraswati wrote an essay, The Conclusive Difference Between the Brahmana and the Vaishnava. What is the title of the essay? The Conclusive Difference Between the Brahmana and the Vaishnava, and submitted it before his father. Despite his poor health, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was elated to hear the arguments that would soundly defeat the challenge of the Smartas. On the request of Madhusudan Das Goswami of Vrindavan and Vishwambar Ananda Dev Goswami of Gopi Vallabhpur, Siddhanta Saraswati traveled to Midnapur, where Pandits from all over India had gathered for a 3-day discussion. Some of the Smarta Pandits who spoke first, the Smarta Brahmana spoke, claimed that anyone born in a Shudra family, even though initiated by a spiritual master, could never become purified and perform the Brahminical duties of worshipping the deity or initiating disciples. So if you're born a Shudra, in spite of taking Diksha, you cannot worship the deities, you cannot initiate, and you cannot accept disciples. Like this, they had presented the Smarta Brahmanas. Finally, Siddhanta Saraswati delivered his speech. He began quoting Vedic references, glorifying the Brahmanas, and at this, the Smarta scholars became very much pleased. What did he do? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was now eulogizing, praising, again quoting from Shastra, how the Brahmanas are so exalted, right? Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya. The Lord is the, he's the well-wisher of the Brahmanas and cows. Like this, he was quoting from the Shastras and glorifying the Brahmanas. So hearing this, all the Brahmanas became very happy. Oh, he's on our side. They became much pleased, very much pleased. But when he began discussing the actual qualification for becoming a Brahmana, yes, Brahmanas, are glorious. Brahmanas are glorious. From Shastra, he quoted. Now the next thing is, who is a Brahmana? What are the qualifications? Who can you call a Brahmana? If somebody is born in a Brahmana family, is that sufficient? Can you call that person a Brahmana? Or if somebody simply wears that as the Brahmin thread, he will buy a thread from the shop you get it, you used to get it for 2 paise. So you get that and you wear it, and you call, can he be called a Brahmana? Brahmana means quality. Krishna gives that in Bhagavad Gita, right? What are the symptoms of a Brahmana? So next, after glorifying Brahmanas, now Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur began discussing the actual qualifications for becoming a Brahmana, the qualities of the Vaishnavas, the relationship between the two. What is the relationship between Brahmanas and Vaishnavas? And who, according to the Vedic literature, is qualified to become a spiritual master and initiate disciples? So these Brahmanas were so happy until now when he glorified the Brahmanas. But when he, on the basis of Shastra, showed who is a Brahmana, who is a Vaishnava, what are their qualities, what is their relationship, and who can become a spiritual master, after hearing this, the joy of the Vaishnava haters disappeared. Siddhanta Saraswati conclusively proved from the scriptures that if one is born as a Shudra but exhibits the qualities of a Brahmana, then he should be honored as a Brahmana. So what should you look at? You should look at the qualities. You should not go by the externals, the labels or titles. Go by the qualities, and then you decide whether the person is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra. So he proved, Srila Siddhanta Saraswati conclusively proved from the scriptures that if one is born as a Shudra but exhibits the qualities of a Brahmana, then he should be honored as a Brahmana despite his birth. And if one is born in a Brahmana family but acts like a Shudra, yes, we are born in a Brahmana family, but if you are acting as a Shudra, then he is not a Brahmana. No, you're not. You have to live by the life of a Brahmana. Only then you're a Brahmana. Otherwise, you're not a Brahmana. Pathan, Pathan, Yajan, Yajan, Dana, Pratigraha. That's a Brahmana's duty. He works. That's what he does. Activities. That's his occupational duty. If one is born in a Brahmana family but acts like a Shudra, you have the title of a Brahmana, but you are working somewhere under some master. How you can call yourself a Brahmana? Or you're pulling a thela, a rickshaw, and then you have the title of a Brahmana. How you can call yourself a Brahmana? If one is born in a Brahmana family but acts like a Shudra, then he is not a Brahmana. After his speech, Siddhanta Saraswati was congratulated by the president of the conference and thousands thronged around him. It was a victory for Vaishnavism. Bhaktivinoda Thakur passed away in 1914. That means when Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was 40 years old, right? Bhaktivinoda Thakur passed away in 1914 on the day of Gadadhar Pandit's disappearance. On the eve of his disappearance, Bhaktivinoda instructed his son to preach the teachings of the 6 Goswamis and Lord Chaitanya far and wide. He also requested that Siddhanta Saraswati develop the birth site of Lord Gauranga. Mother Bhagavati Devi disappeared a few years later. Before her passing away, she held the hands of Saraswati Goswami, imploring him to preach the glories of Lord Gauranga and his dham. See, before giving up her body, she is begging her son, please preach the glories of Lord Gauranga and his dham. Accepting the instructions of his parents as his foremost duty, Saraswati Goswami took up this task of preaching with intense enthusiasm and vigor. With the passing away of his father and his spiritual master a year later. So first his father, his mother, and then his spiritual master, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, all passed away in a matter of 1 year. Siddhanta Saraswati continued the mission of Lord Chaitanya. He assumed editorship of Sajjana Toshani and established the Bhagavad press in Krishnanagar. Then in 1918 means 4 years later, in Mayapur, he sat down before a picture of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji and initiated himself into the sannyas order. That was also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction. Start Varnashrama Dharma means you need 4 ashramas. Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas. So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur started the Brahmachari ashram and the Sannyas ashram in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Through initiation. right? Brahmacharis and sannyasis. So how did he begin? First, he accepted sannyas himself, sitting in front of the picture of his spiritual master. At this time, he assumed the sannyas title Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati was dedicated to using the printing press as the best medium for large-scale distribution of Krishna consciousness. He thought of the printing press as a brihat mridanga, a big mridanga. The mridanga drum played during kirtan could be heard for a block or two, whereas with the brihat mridanga, the printing press, the message of Lord Chaitanya could be spread all over the world. You could hear the sound of this mridanga, of the printing press everywhere. That is why Srila Prabhupada pushed book distribution so much. Rohini Kumar Ghosh, a nephew of Justice Chandra Madhava Ghosh of Calcutta High Court and originally a resident of Bhola in Barisal, now in Bangladesh, decided to renounce the world and engage himself in Hari Bhajan. Who is this? He is a nephew of the High Court judge. With this purpose in mind, he came to Kulia in Navadvip, where he led the life of a baul. However, he despised the practices of the Seva Dasis prevalent amongst the baul sect. One day, Rohini Ghosh happened to come to the Yog Peeth when Saraswati Goswami was lecturing there. Rohini was delighted to see the luminous appearance of Saraswati Goswami and fascinated by his words. Late that night, after spending the whole day listening to Saraswati Goswami's teachings, Rohini returned to his Baul Guru's ashram at Kulia. Without taking any prasad, Rohini took rest, contemplating the lessons on Shuddha Bhakti which he had heard that day. In his dream, Rohini saw a baul and his consort appear before him in the form of a tiger and tigress, which were about to devour him. Trembling in fear, Rohini desperately called out to Lord Chaitanya. Suddenly, Rohini found himself being rescued from the clutches of the tigers by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. From that day, Rohini left the Baul Guru forever and took shelter at the feet of Saraswati Goswami. Anna Prasad Datta, the elder brother of Saraswati Goswami, suffered with severe headaches shortly before his disappearance. On the day of Annada's disappearance, Saraswati Goswami remained by his side all through the night, chanting Harinam. Before Annada passed away, he briefly regained consciousness and began apologizing to Saraswati Goswami, who simply encouraged him to remember the holy name of the Lord. Suddenly, the tilak mark of the Ramanuja Sampradaya became clearly visible on Annada's forehead. Annada explained that in his past birth he had been a Vaishnav belonging to the Ramanuja sect, but due to committing an offense at the feet of Saraswati Thakur, Annada had to be reborn. However, as a result of his past merit, he was fortunate enough to be born into Bhaktivinod's family. After finishing his account, Annada breathed his last. Once on the day preceding Janmashtami in the Bengali month of Bhadra, Saraswati Goswami was engaged in bhajan at Mayapur, but was feeling disturbed as he was unable to arrange for milk to be offered to the deity. As soon as he began to think in this way, he chastised himself. Have I thought like this for my own sake? That is wrong. Because it was the monsoon season, Lord Chaitanya's birth site was covered with water and was totally inaccessible except by boat. However, that afternoon, one milkman turned up there, wading through water and slush, carrying a large quantity of milk, kheer, butter, cottage cheese, matlab paneer, etc. Apparently, a zamindar named Harinarayan Chakravarti, guided by Lord Chaitanya, had sent the milkman with all the items. So you understood what's happening here. The next day was Janmashtami. So on Janmashtami, you want to offer various milk sweets and milk preparations to Krishna. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did not have milk. So he was feeling disturbed. And then he started chastising himself. Was I thinking like this for my own sake? Right? I want milk and this and that, like that. And then Mahaprabhu arranged for all, not just milk, but milk, kheer, butter, paneer, everything came. Even in that flood. After offering everything to the deity, the devotees partook of the prasad joyfully. Saraswati Thakur was surprised to see so much prasad, and the devotees explained what had happened. After taking prasad, Siddhanta Saraswati humbly appealed to the Lord. I am very sorry to have caused you so much trouble. Why did I have such an uncalled for thought? To fulfill my desire, you have inspired another person and arranged to send these things. So you and I may justify, but that desire was for Krishna's service only. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is thinking, unnecessarily I have disturbed the Lord, right? I made him arrange for all this for me. So, the world was amazed to see the supernatural power of Saraswati Goswami. Many educated persons from highly respectable families were attracted to him and thus dedicated themselves to the service of Lord Gauranga. Between 1918 and 1937, 1918, so about 48 to 67 years old. No, 44 to 44 to 63 years old. Okay. Between 1918 and 1937, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati founded 64 Shuddha Bhakti Matas at the following places: Navadvip, Mayapur, Calcutta, Chaka, Mymensingh, Narayanganj, Chittagong, Midnapur, Remuna, Balasore, Puri, Alalanath, Madras, Kovur, Delhi, Patna, Gaya, Lucknow, Varanasi, Hardwar, Allahabad, Mathura, Vrindavan, Assam, Kurukshetra, and outside India in London and Rangoon. Saraswati Goswami instituted Gaura Padapitha at Narsimachala on the top of the Mandara hill and at several places in South India. He initiated 25 highly educated persons into Bhagavad Tridandi Sannyas. He published the following periodicals on Shuddha Bhakti in different languages. Sajjana Toshini is in Bengali, The Harmonist in English, Gaudiya is a weekly, Bengali weekly. Okay. Sajjana Toshini was bi-weekly, that is different. Gaudiya is a weekly. Bhagavata, a Hindi fortnightly. Nadia Prakash, a daily, daily, like a newspaper, daily, Nadia Prakash in Bengali. Kirtan, an Assamese monthly, and Paramarthi in Oriya. In addition, he published a large number of Vaishnava books. In fact, he heralded a new era in the spiritual world. He deputed well-disciplined Tridandi sannyasis to preach the message of Lord Gauranga all over the world. For 6 years, he continued to supervise this preaching work. And when he found that his mission had attained its goal to a reasonable extent, he decided to pass into the eternal service of Lord Gauranga. He recommended to all Vaishnavas to read these books: Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur, Dashamula Shiksha by Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Sri Krishna Bhajanamrita by Narahari Sarkar, and Prema Bhakti Chandrika by Narottam Das Thakur. According to others, they were Prema Bhakti Chandrika, Prarthana by Narottam Das Thakur, and Upadesh Amrita by Rupa Goswami. A few days before his disappearance, so today is his disappearance, a few days before his disappearance, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati called his foremost disciples and showered his blessings upon all his devotees. He gave them the following instructions. With the utmost enthusiasm, so these are very important, okay, messages for all of us, followers. With the utmost enthusiasm, preach the message of Rupa Raghunath. Our ultimate goal is to become a speck of dust touching the lotus feet of the followers of Rupa Goswami. All of you remain united in allegiance to the spiritual master, Ashraya Vigraha, in order to satisfy the senses of the transcendental entity of non-dual knowledge. Do not give up the worship of Hari, even amidst hundreds of dangers, hundreds of insults, or hundreds of persecutions. Do not become unenthusiastic upon seeing that the majority of people in this world are not accepting the message of Krishna's sincere worship. Never give up the glorification of the topics of Krishna. They are your own personal bhajan and your very all and all. Being humble like a blade of grass and tolerant like a tree, constantly glorify Hari. In the early hours of the day, on January 1st, 1937, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami passed away or entered Nitya Leela Pravishta, entered into the eternal pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So, let's see what's in the e-book. Okay, so you can look at these also in your free time. Are these, acha, so this is by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Our imperfect knowledge is now captivated within the mundane horizon, and we earnestly crave a release from the prison walls of unwholesome relativity. That experience will necessarily lead us to conclude the desirability of non cooperation with finitudinal relativity. For when infinite relativity is talked of, we should not ascribe to it any defects of finitudinal experience here. The Supreme Lord did not confirm the impersonal phase of the fountainhead of nature and eternal supernature, but prescribed a long track which we should adopt in our sojourn in this temporal world as well as in proceeding to transcendence. He did not prescribe the short sighted policy of non cooperation with perishable limited things of this world, but instructed us to utilize them in a proper direction to get our desired end. No doubt our reliance on petty reasonings about mundane relativity would show an unwillingness to receive the transcendental truth unexplored hitherto by our defective oral reception. But a lucky moment would give us an accidental opportunity of paying a little more attention to the remedy which, in its miraculous power, proves the greatest relishing sauce of a thirsty soul. Just to give you a feel for the writings of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in English. Even the British would find it difficult to comprehend his writings in English. And also Brahma Samhita that we have, the purports to Brahma Samhita, the translation and purports that's given by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. You can try to read that and you'll understand, you know. So I think we can stop here today. Does anyone want to say anything? Okay, so all of you have, wonderful celebration of the disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, our Param Gurudev. Today is a half-day fast, and you can do Pushpanjali. You can cook an offering for Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and the deities, and make the offering at noon time, and then do Pushpanjali and Aarti. That's what we do. We have to observe fast for our immediate acharyas. That means for the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So up to Bhakti Vinod Thakur, on all appearance and disappearance days, we must observe a half-day fast, and we should celebrate by cooking an offering to the Lord, to the Acharya, offer Pushpanjali and do Aarti. Okay, so wish you all the best. Hare Krishna. All of you have a wonderful day in Krishna consciousness. I'll see you in the evening. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
I don't hear you. I wonder why. Is anyone?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Acha, my volume was very low. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Did anyone say anything? Did I miss?
Everybody was saying thank you to you.
I'm so sorry. I couldn't hear what you were saying. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.